So welcome. And if you haven't already, take a good seat. And that means a nice inner rotation of the thighs, tailbone down. The tailbone comes slightly forward, pubic bone moves back to meet it. Pelvic floor lifts up slightly. It's not a grip, it's a nice engagement. And the low belly tones. And of course, today being the day after 4th of July, and we'll celebrate the freedom, sense of freedom. And of course, with freedom, a lot of times we're all seeking freedom. In Tantra, there's the question, are we free beings seeking stability, seeking something to bind to, or are we bound beings seeking freedom? And in the Tantra philosophy, we are already free. It's just as we move through the world, we end up catching these like spider webs. We get bound, we get stuck. And so we want to choose, make discerning choices as to what we bind to. And that means people, that means things, means ideas. And sometimes we have to unleash those bounds and find another boundary. But essentially in freedom, we're either seeking freedom from something, oppression, or freedom to something, freedom to do something. In yoga, often we're seeking freedom from stuckness, and also the freedom to be able to stretch, to open, to move. When we feel free, you experience your true nature. That moves you into the heart, and your true nature is this sense of bliss. That's not like, oh, everything's always happy. You're not like, you're not getting the question, are you on drugs? But it's a sense of, for me, it's just a sense of steadiness and well-being. I'm not feeling flighty. I'm not feeling jumpy. I'm not feeling overly heavy or depressed. It's just right in that little middle place, dancing in the middle, and it's constantly changing. So draw your palms together in front of the heart center. Close the eyes. And just knowing, when I remind myself that I am free to choose, that's both a scary responsibility and a kind of release, a kind of setting myself free. And knowing that each of my choices sets how I will, sort of my legacy, in a sense, how I choose, what I choose, sets down my legacy. So we bow into the ultimate freedom, knowing that we are going to choose something. So let's choose joy. Let's choose steadiness. And inhale, exhale, cleansing breath. Inhale to Om. Om. Release the hands, and the eyes can either remain closed or open up. But come to a box breath. If you want to change your position, you can do this in a chair. Doesn't matter how you sit, just sit in a way that the spine can be long and you can get a sense of upliftment, more freedom in the breath. The box breath is count 4 counts on the inhale, hold 4 counts, and then 4 counts on the exhale, hold 4 counts. Again, inhale 4, hold, exhale 4, hold. And if you're counting too slowly and the body's saying, I need air, speed up the count a little bit. As the muscles around the lungs will relax, then you will be able to lengthen the count to 4, make it slower. So the even breath, the 1-to-1 ratio breath, is a steadiness breath. It's about equanimity. And it's a good breath when you're feeling a little like you're about to flip off the earth, or if you're just not, somehow something feels like you're driving with a flat tire or a square tire or something. It just has that lumpy feel. This breath helps to steady that, to even things out. And I notice when I do this a few rounds, everything relaxes, the breath gets softer, it's easier. You're not trying to force it. Again, you're shaping the breath rather than trying to pistol whip it into shape. It's a very gentle, loving kind of movement. If you're feeling relaxed, begin to extend the exhale towards the count of 8. If you need to start it gradually, count of 5, then 6, then 7, then 8. It might come easily, naturally, all at once. Still holding across the top, and if it's possible, hold across the bottom. If you find that you're starting to gasp for breath or needing to shorten things up, don't hold at the bottom quite so long or at the top. Just close those in a bit. And as you exhale, portion out the 8 pieces of air if you could do that. But the breath at the top is as strong as the breath at the bottom. So you portion it out. Same with the inhale, but it's a little easier on the inhale. The exhale, we tend to push it all out at once, but have enough breath left at the end. And if you don't have enough breath left at the end, that's fine. Just stay with that count. Maybe it's a 7 count out. Again, you have the freedom to choose how you do this pranayama. It's important that we keep up a pranayama practice. Even this one is very simple. And release the next time you exhale out through the right. Release and breathe normally. Take your time. And then on your next inhale, if your eyes are closed, flutter them open and come to hands and knees for cat-cow. Simple, easy, something we do all the time. Spread the fingers of the hands. Connect with the whole circumference of the palm, particularly the root of the fingers. That's the base of the fingers where they meet the palm. And then the pads are the pads of the fingers under the fingernails. Claw the pads in just enough before the roots pop up. The roots stay rooted. Get the weight off the heel of the hand. So, Michelle Perrin, I know you are recovering from your poor baby's 2nd operation on your knee. So here's one thing you can do. If you're sitting in a chair or standing, Michelle, you can do cat-cow this way. Easy to do sitting on the edge of a chair. So I'll give you some hints of things, ways you can do this on the chair if you're totally chair bound. Is she moving at all, Jill? Or? Yeah, so you can stand up occasionally, okay. All right, the next time you come through table, pause, tuck the toes of the right foot, slide the right foot back, press the foot into the earth and pull the right toes up towards the hands. As the upper inner thighs move apart, tailbone lengthens down towards the heels. On your next inhale, lift the right leg, stretch the opposite arm forward, and breathe. So Michelle, one thing you can do this on the wall, make sure it can be seen here, is if you're on the wall, you can lift one leg if the other leg will hold. You can at least lift your bum leg perhaps if you're not standing, putting all your weight on it. And then exhale, release. Tuck the toes of the left foot, slide it back. Engage the core, xiphoid tailbone, lift the left leg, inner edge of the left leg lifting faster, outer left hip moving down, opposite arm forward. Breathe. And steady here. And release. Walk your knees about a handprint distance behind your hips, the hands about a handprint distance in front of the shoulders. And Michelle, you can do half forward bend on the wall, as I call it, my wall dog, rather, unless you're doing it all the way on the floor. So play with it, see what happens. And notice here, the tendency is to rock all the way to the outside heel of the hand. So connect more with the roots and the palms, hug in through that steadiness. Then you free up the heart, bend your knees and pedal out, walking the dog, not losing the sense of your foundation in the hands. And walk the hands back to the toes, forward bend at the back of your mat. Half or full forward bend. Oh. And do a little bend in the knees on the exhale. Inhale, straighten or semi-straighten. Little bend, little straight. Can be half forward bend, where you're in upside down letter L, or onto the wall, or hands on a chair. Too many choices. See, that's the thing. That's why freedom is difficult, because there's so many choices. We have to choose. Hands on the hips, come up halfway if you're not already. Shrug the head of the arm bones towards the ears, lift the head of the arm bones to the sky, and then inhale, rise up and pull down. Ooh, shake off. All right, stretch the arms up. Didn't even check my distance here, so I can't see. All right, press down through both feet. The right hand grabs the left wrist, pull up, press down through the left leg and arc over to the right and breathe. On the exhale, turn just in the torso, not in the hips. The hips stay the same, and just turning the upper body and inhale up. It's only from here. The hips are not moving at all. So it's a tiny move. Exhale down, inhale up. Exhale down, little bitty move back and forth. And then on your next inhale, come to standing. Release the arms, shake the shoulders off. Again, inhale, rise up. Left hand grabs the right wrist, pull up, press down, then arc over slightly. It's not a big move. Pull xiphoid to tailbone so we're not popping forward. And then keeping the hips stable. It's a little turn down to say, oh, and you'll notice the left hip wants to come back with you, moving it forward. And then a little turn up and a little turn down and up. Exhale down. Inhale up. The next time you're up, pause, and then inhale, press yourself up, release the arm. Interlace the hands behind the back. You can use a strap if you have it, or take hold. And notice which finger's on top. So for me, my go-to pose is the right thumb's on top. So switch it, just because we can. Shrug the shoulders, head of the arm bones back, bottom ribs down, and lift the arms, just lift the arms. Oh. And on the exhale, just slightly release. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. Notice that the head wants to push forward on this, so move it back. Oh. Just a little lift, tiny little lower. Oh. Second option here, you can stay here or fold forward, and do the same thing. This is where the non-habitual cross feels wrong, really wrong to me. And again, a little lift more towards the head and a little lower, a little lift, a little lower. Next inhale, come all the way up and shake off. Really getting the shoulders open is a huge thing. All right, step to the top of your mat, have your blocks near you. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, prepare. Step your right leg back, straight leg lunge. Blocks near you as you need, light on the fingertips. And in fact, we'll take them off the blocks or the floor in a bit, but bend and straighten and bend. And then play with your balance. Maybe the wrist just flex and you're just hovering them over the top, or interlace the hands or rest them on your sacrum, lift the head of the arm bones and go back and forth. You have control over the volume knob. You decide how much to use this, to work this. And the next time you come to lunge, pause, step into standing splits. Haven't done this in a while. Lift the inner edge of the right leg more. Outer right hip moves down. Hug your outer left hip in, lengthen the left leg. So maybe the right leg comes in without bending. Forward bend, hands on the hips. Come up halfway, shrug the shoulders, lift the head of the arm bones. Next, inhale, push down to rise up and release. I'm getting all dewy. I might need to crank, it is, I might need to crank the AC cooler just a bit. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, prepare. Stretch the left leg back, straight leg lunge. Again, blocks or no blocks, but you're light, you're just a fingernail is keeping you from tipping over. Feet are on railroad tracks, not tightrope. And on your exhale, bend the back leg, straighten the front. Inhale, lunge. Back and forth. Light on the fingertips, then play with your balance. It might be that you just take a finger off and put it down, finger off, put it down. But maybe play with the balance with the wrists flexed, palms parallel to the floor, or rest them on your sacrum, shrug the shoulders, lift the head of the arm bones. Ooh, and play there. And notice that balance is not a stuck thing. It's free. It's constantly wobbling. You're making constant corrections. The next time, or adjustments, the next time you're in lunge, step up, lift your left leg high. You can come into half forward bend like warrior pose, where the torso and the leg are parallel to the floor, or go more towards the standing splitish thing. And hug the outer right hip, your standing leg in, lengthen the right leg as the left leg comes in for a landing. Hands on the hips, shrug the shoulders, lift the head of the arm bones, rise up. Woo. Shake off. Pause a minute. I am going to crank up the AC. It feels a little steamier in here than I want. Yeah? Yeah. Well, Caroline runs kind of cool anyway, so she's cool. Take a breath. Step to the top of your mat again. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, prepare. Step your right leg back, step your left leg back. Come into dog pose. Catch your breath. Claw the floor with the hands. On the next inhale, shift forward to plank pose. Lower the knees. And exhale back to a crouch, almost a child, but a crouching child, and unfold into dog. Inhale, plank. Lower the knees. Exhale, crouch into dog. So you make it smooth, easy with the breath. Down, up, down. Everything is sort of slow, lazy, light. And the next time you come into dog, pause. Might have a blanket near you if you like to pad the knee. Step the right foot forward, straight leg lunge. Can either slide the blanket under the knee, or if you don't want to put weight right on the kneecap, it's what I call Mary's solution, because Mary figured it out. You put the blanket right at the top of the shin, the kneecap's not pressing on anything. Back toes are tucked. Hands to the front thigh. Shift the hips forward so the knee comes right over the ankle. If it comes forward of the ankle and your knees are really strong and young, it can come a tiny bit forward. Otherwise, walk the foot out so it's just right over the ankle. Upper inner thighs are moving back, particularly on the back leg. The inner thighs moving towards the back body and lifting. With the right hand on the top of the thigh, stretch the left arm up, come into half beach bend. Push the head into the hand, elbow comes forward, not way out, but forward. Soften the armpit back, push the head into the hand. Here's my fun summer go-to pose. Keeping that, stretch the left arm up. The right hand grabs the left wrist and you arc to the right, to the front leg side. Oh, stabilizing the legs a lot. Come back up to center, switch the grab and arc to the back leg side. Breathe. Inhale your way back to center and straighten the front leg. Here's where, again, we did this standing with the back leg straight. You can come on to blocks, but light on the fingertips wherever you are. Not throwing the weight into the hands, but making the legs work. Walk the hands to the outside of the front leg. So, looks like this from the front. Oh. Straight, front leg is straight. Thank you, Jill. As you press the outside of your shin into the front leg shin, your right shin into your arm, the arm presses back. Then the inner thighs can move back and apart, tailbone down. Pull the baby toe side of the front foot towards your outer hip. Oh. And release. Step. Isn't it? I love that hamstring stretch. Come to plank. Oh no. Claw the floor. Walk your toes in just a little bit. Keep the bum lifted, so a little pricky bum, and pull the knees down to where they're barely grazing the floor or the blanket. There's no weight on the knees. Soften the heart between the shoulder blades. Oh, I'm feeling this. And then release, lower all the way to the floor. Oh. Rest your forehead on your hands. I noticed that now that I've been doing the practice with everyone, I'm giving a lot more resting points in the bed. It's a good instructor. And then tuck the toes, plant your hands, shrug the shoulders, lift the head of the arm bones, and come up into kind of cobra or supported up dog. Right now I have the blanket under my thighs, so it gives me a little lift. And then inhale back to dog. All right, everything on the other side. Step your left leg forward. Right knee down. Keep the back toes tucked. Keep the back toes. It's a reminder, all you guys have been doing this a long time, but I forget, so I remind myself and you. If you untuck the toes, you notice that leg kind of goes slack. It's harder to, if you untuck them, you can actually feel it. It's harder to engage the whole leg. If the toes are tucked, it not only has a nice stretch for the bottom of the foot, but also helps you get more engagement in the leg. Come to the top of the left thigh. The outer hip, the front hip, the left hip wants to pull up. So you're pulling the outer hip crease down and back as you push energetically through the front shin. Left hand on top of the left thigh. Right arm up, pull the head of the arm bone back, half beach babe, hug the elbow towards the face and push the head into the hand as the elbow stretches towards the sky. You can shift your hips a tiny bit forward. If you feel this in the low back, you have to reset the legs. The legs have to work hard, tailbone lengthens. Oh. And release. Straighten the front leg. Blocks or no blocks, it's your choice. Breathe here, just opening the upper inner thighs wide apart, particularly take the inner right hip thigh out wide, and then the inner left. Tailbone moves in between. Walk the hands to the outside of the front leg. Now, what I notice immediately when I'm not paying attention is the front foot tends to sickle. Means the baby toe kind of goes, I'm exaggerating here, but baby toe is going toward the floor. So the baby toe side of the front foot pulls back to the outer hip. You step on the gas a little bit with the big toe ball and then push the arm into the outside of the leg into the arm. And also, besides a good hamstring, it gets that side obliques and the QLs that get very tight. And release. Step back, downward facing dog. Ooh, yeah. Lift your right leg high behind you. Steady the arms. So the arms are your steadiness because the leg's going to choose to be a little wild here. So to keep it from getting out of control, the arms, the hands are strong, thumbs hugging in, and the upper inner armpits moving wide apart. Bend the right knee, and as you open the hips, the tendency is to collapse the left shoulder. Keep the left inner armpit lifted and open the hips more. Arms are steady and strong, so you can be wild in the legs. Inhale, come back into center. Take a breath. Side B. I find that if I step my feet close together, if the standing leg, the right leg is more in the center, gives me a little more stability. Lift the left leg high, steady the arms, hug the head of the arm bones into the shoulder sockets, hug the shoulder blades on the back, bend the left knee, and start to open the left hip. Notice immediately that the right shoulder wants to collapse. Be steady so you can be a little wilder. And inhale, come back to center. Lower the knees, knees apart, toes together. Come to child's pose. Inhale your way back to table. Lift your knees into dog. Step the left leg forward, straight leg lunge. Now here's where you might want to use blocks until you maybe don't need them. Hop the back foot up a bit, steady on the front leg. So with blocks, the warrior 3 option, and the blocks can be as high as you need them, but light on the fingertips. Upper inner right thighs moving up faster, outer right hip moving down, hug the outer left hip in. You might be able to find balance here, don't know. It's a little easier with the arms behind you, and then bend the standing leg, straighten it, bend it, straighten it. And I'm not trying to do the funny voice, it's just coming. Step back, downward facing dog. Oh my God.
I like it when you do that.
Yeah, I feel your pain, literally, right? I can say I feel you. All right, side B. Warrior 1, option or full balance if you got it. My left side didn't have it. Come up. So the left leg doesn't have to come high. It can even come a little lower. It doesn't have to come all the way high. Hug your outer standing leg in, the outer right hip in, and then bend, straighten-ish. Little bend, I know, right? Straighten. See, this leg's a little bit stronger. The funny voice isn't coming up quite so fast. Oh my God. All right, enough. Step back. Now we're facing dog. All right. Fallen warrior. Have a blanket to the side. Each side, if you have it. If you've got carpet, if your mat's on carpet, then you don't necessarily need a blanket because the blanket will not slide. Have blocks in front of you. Lift your right leg high behind you. Draw it in towards your nose and scoot it out to the left. The baby toe side of the right foot's on the floor on the blanket. Come all the way down onto your right hip. Now the left leg, hip tends to be open. See if you can rotate it down. You won't do much, but a little bit. Keeping the back toes tucked works. You can either come up, forearms on blocks, or I like to rest my head on a block depending on how far down you go. The what? I love this when someone says, where should I be feeling it? When I'm feeling it everywhere. Okay, so most of the time the feeling is through the bottom leg IT band, the right IT band. Foot's flexed and it's perpendicular to the long edge of the mat. Okay, so if you collapse the foot, if you just relax the leg, You won't necessarily feel it. If you do more inner rotation of the thighs, like that's weird in this position, but the inner thighs are still moving towards the back body. Then turn the heart towards the floor to get a big twist. So I feel a lot on the IT band, the outer hip flexors. And then if I do a big enough twist, I feel the twist in the torso. And people on Zoom, if you have a question, just come on. I miss the fact that you guys talk back to me. And breathe here. All right, so there's an option. If you want to take, you can stay here and take the twist a little deeper. I'll turn away from you a bit. The left forearm comes across a bit, perch up on the right hand, and begin to twist away from the ski accident legs, away from your bottom leg, towards your right for a deeper twist. Some of you may be able to thread the left arm underneath you, come to rest. Oh, I can't rest on the shoulder on this side. And then a block under the head. Oh, for a big shoulder twist. Now here, the legs will want to collapse. Still scissor the legs together. So pretend you have a big, huge beach ball between your legs, like the right heel is pressing one edge of the beach ball and the outer left ankle is pressing the other, and you're trying to scissor the legs together, squeezing the beach ball. Oh. Now you'll notice it's hard to take a full, easy, deep breath here. So there's a little check. If you can't breathe at all, that's a good hint that maybe you've gone too far, so back off. But if the breath is just a little hard to pull through the twist, then soften it a bit, pull back. And then inhale your way. Oh, I don't know. I never have to say slowly come out of this because, oh yeah, right. Moaning, groaning. Notice the difference between the two sides. All right. Lift your left leg high behind you, pull the left knee in, send it out perpendicular, come to rest on the outside seam of your left leg. Then if you pull the left bum back, the hips back, you can roll the outer right hip down a bit more. Just don't want it to be straight up. That causes some of the twist to happen. And then this is just the straight, regular, again, not so easy. You're engaging through the straight leg. Do it around this way. This leg is very engaged. It's not flopped. It's, if you can push against a wall, it's really nice. Oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh. And breathe the twist here. And you'll notice one side, you feel it in a different place perhaps, or with a different intensity. You're still scissoring the legs together as though you're somehow weirdly trying to bring the legs together. Inner thighs move back and apart, tailbone lengthens. And then from the core of the pelvis, push out through the soles of the feet and stretch out from the core of the pelvis through the head. If you want to take the partial twist is to cross the right forearm slightly in front of you, perch up on the left fingertips, and just start to take yourself around a bit more. If it's accessible for you on this side, let's see. Oh, it was tight on the other side. It's double tight on this side. Thread the right arm all the way under you. Maybe you can see I cannot rest on my shoulder. Jill's resting pretty much on your shoulder, aren't you? Yeah. That's right, she did. Layla worked on her shoulders. So this is just a test for me that that's more places I get to work. But I love the stretch along the side body that this gives me, particularly my left side in this case. You may feel it a different place. And breathe. Notice the breath in this tighter twist is harder to calm down, harder to slow down. Still attempt to take low belly breaths. The diaphragm's a little bit twisted up so it doesn't push down quite as far. And then inhale your way back to dog. We're both like, what? 911, come pick me up. Yeah. And then aversion, come all the way down onto your belly, keep your blankets to the side, and draw your right knee up into a salamander pose. Here with the straight leg, it's your choice as to whether you keep the toes tucked. I like it tucked because then my kneecap doesn't push down on the earth. When I straighten it, sometimes the kneecap gets messed up. But if you straighten it, spread your toes and click even the little baby toe side down on the floor. So you choose. Then the right leg, the foot's still active, foot's flexed. So right angle at your ankle, a right angle at your knee, a right angle at your hip. And then rest, stretch. You're moving towards, if you're really tight in your inner thighs, you might feel this here. If you're not particularly tight there, it'll just feel kind of nice, like a resting pose. And on your next inhale, you have two positions here. You can come up onto your forearms, or some of you may want to come up into more of a cobra pose. As long as the tailbone is long and the legs are strong, you're not feeling this. Then you look over one shoulder, press through both feet, and inhale, look over the other shoulder. And come back to center. Release both legs long. Windshield wiper or wiggle the hips. And then come back up to forearms. The left leg comes then out to the side in salamander. And just up on your forearms and just soften here a bit. You might feel, sometimes I feel a really nice stretch along the straight leg side. Sometimes I feel it more when I come up onto the cobra pose. It just depends. If I'm really tight, I feel it right here. I don't need to come any further. If I'm feeling a little looser. So it's kind of like Lele Jill freed your shoulders, right? If we're going on to freedom, she really worked into them. Yep. And then either on your forearms or press up, you can stay low, work the arms a little more, hug the elbows in, or push up, getting a little cramp in the hip there, straighten it out, and then look over one shoulder, and then look over the other. And release, stretch both legs long. Well, we're here, dears. Come up onto your left forearm, bend your right knee. So, Michelle Perrin, this might be a struggle for you. So let me show you, actually, let me show you the first one. We won't do it alternate side, we'll do the same side. Here's the one to do if you can't reach back and take hold of your hands. And we're all gonna do, your feet, yeah, thank you, bit. If your hands take hold of your feet, we're all gonna do this. It's harder, so don't think you're getting off with much. With your forehead or chin on the floor, plant your hands just kind of about your ribs, your chest height. Shrug the shoulders, lift the head of the arm bones. Stretch your legs long, inner thighs lift, tailbone lengthens. Bend your knees just 90 degrees. The soles of the feet parallel with the ceiling, and just turn the feet out just a tiny bit. And then inhale, you push from the core of the pelvis down and lift from the core of the pelvis up. Lift the hands, just hover off the floor, and see if you can lift your knees off the floor. So that's your pose if you can't reach back and take hold. I find this harder. It's very strengthening for the back. So for those of you who are going to stay this, when we go to the next one, you can exhale and come down a little bit, inhale, come up, exhale. You can do like little baby push-ups. And the rest, all of us, just rest a moment. Wiggle your hips. If you feel it in the low back, you gotta come down, reset, and the tailbone has to lengthen more. Pull the belly button up into the spine.
All right, you either repeat that or you bend both knees, take hold of the tops of the feet, and pause here a minute. The knees come back in line with the hips, hug an imaginary block between the knees, shrug the shoulders, lift the head of the arm bones. The inner thighs are still moving up towards the ceiling, tailbone lengthens. Kick the feet into the hands, hands into the feet, and lift. Shoulders, head, knees. And again, from the belly, the low belly, push out into your hand, from the legs into your hands, and from the belly out through the crown of the head. And breathe. Oh, that's tight. And release. Shake off. Push back, child's pose. Oh. And rest. So there's resting child's pose, either with the arms soft, or the arms can be by your side, the hands near the feet, rounding the shoulders more. Rabbit is where the knees are together. Good question. Jill was asking, is that called rabbit? So rabbit is where the knees are together. So we're doing knees apart, together, and you're holding, and you're actually coming up on your head like this, which feels great if that works for your knees. So don't put much weight on your head. Yeah. Yeah. So this is kind of similar to rabbit, but it's really a very loosey-goosey rabbit. Or the arms out in front, whatever feels good. All right, long enough. My next inhale, sit up and come to sit on a blanket, a bit of a blanket. And this can be done in a chair as well, because I'll show you the simple twist in the chair or on the floor. First, the legs are straight. So if you're in a chair, sit up on the edge of a chair and the heels are on the floor and you're kind of at an angle. You can still get this same sense. Step on the gas a little bit with the big toe ball down. Pull the baby toe side of the foot back towards your hips. Micro bend your knees as you dig the heels in and pull the heels back. That helps you move the inner thighs back, tailbone lengthens into that space. And Dandasana, this is called Dandasana staff pose. Simple pose, but not so easy. So all you guys I know have stretchy enough hamstrings that you can do this, but if you teach this to beginners or people who are really tight, they end up doing some version of this because they don't have the flexibility to lift. And actually it's taking a fair bit to keep that length there. Just for Mary and Jill, they're doing teacher training, so had to get that in. And then draw your left knee in. Now, how close the heel is to the bum, the classic sort of traditional pose is very close in. This might be too big of a pinch for the knee. So there's your volume control, how far out you take it. You can keep the right leg straight or fold it under you and take the full Matsyendrasana cross. But here's version 1. Here's version 2. We'll twist here. You can do this seated. If you're seated, this leg's just bent and you can actually pull this knee up to the degree you can, or keep both legs down and do a twist this way. Too many choices. All right, so if it works to go here, notice then that that makes your bent leg side, your left leg side, lighter. So you want to shift a little more weight down to the left sit bone, and already I feel that shoot up the hip flexor. Pull the left knee across the body. Yeah, sorry. And then turn towards the left. Take your time to turn. On your inhale, lengthen, tailbone lengthens and the legs strengthen. And then exhale, the ribs spin. Inhale, lengthen, steady the legs. Exhale, twist. Keep the head for right now. Don't turn it as far as it can go. Keep turning in the torso. And once the torso has turned as far as it's going to go, the head can very elegantly and gently, sweetly turn to the right. If we start turning the head, often the neck muscles get very tight. I've noticed anyway. And then slowly turn the head back to look over the right shoulder. And then turn it back to the right. You're sort of like the lizard sitting in the tree, just looking, not moving, just looking. And the next time you inhale, untwist, stretch it out. Oh, it's a good twist. All right, again, you can start here and the twist can come with the legs straight. You want a little bit deeper, you can cross to the midline. And a little bit deeper is bending the bottom leg underneath you. I've got a Michelle Brown kink in my hips. So it's like, I've noticed that more, Michelle, that I'm getting more cramps in the hips. I have to back off. So if you're feeling any kind of cramping, then back off and try a little more sweetness. Inhale, lengthen. So we want length first, because if we're here, the twist is very constrained. So with length, then exhale, just the ribs spin. The head does not go yet. The left hand can pull the knee across the midline. Sole of the left foot is firmly on the floor. Inhale, lengthen again, tailbone to crown. It amazes me how much I can slump in just a few seconds. And exhale, the ribs turn. Keep doing that. Take 3 to 5 breaths to go to your max. Your arm can stay wrapped, or if it's comfortable for you to pull the elbow to the outside of the knee, the left fingertips can come to the floor behind you. And then turn the head very delicately, elegantly to look over the right shoulder. And notice the breath here in the twist. It's harder to make it flow easily. You have to find some softness, some space there. And then like the oscillating fan, slowly turn the head to the left and slowly to the right. No hurry. It's like the fan. It's not in a hurry to get to the end of the arc. In fact, if you're in front of the fan, you kind of like it to be hover right into the center of it. You slowly turn back and forth. And notice if you're holding tension. And then the next time you inhale, untwist the torso and stretch. Just take one last wide-legged sit here, just feels good to release. Flex the feet, step on the gas a tiny bit, baby toes come out. And as you dig the heels in, pull the heels back towards the hips so the knees lift off a bit. Even though the inner knees are yearning towards the floor, you're pulling them back a bit. You're contracting a bit. You can tilt forward from the hips as far as is comfortable. If just sitting here, feeling plenty. If you want a little more, go Jill, take the head down. Yeah. If you got it, just don't let the knees collapse. Yeah, make the legs work. Keep pulling from the soles of the feet into the hip socket a lot. Inner thighs then can move towards the floor and back. Tailbone and lengthens. So you might be able to, oh no, not today. Come down. Oh, maybe not. I can do it, but I can't sustain it. And then inhale your way back to center. Oh my gosh, I miss having a 75-minute class for this class. All right, roll onto your back. Knees bent, feet on the floor. We'll do a few moments of a real bridge. You can always do a supported bridge if you want, or any variation thereof. Feet on the floor. How close do the feet come to the hips? Kind of depends on the openness of your back and your knees. So there's classic poses that pull the heels almost all the way back to the bum. But I prefer a little more even where the shins are more straight up and down. If your back is pretty tight, you can walk the feet a little farther away from you. You have to, that's your volume control. You can figure out what feels right for you. Bend your elbows, robot arms, push into your elbows, lift your shoulder blades off the floor a little bit, snug them in, put them down, tack the head of the arm bones into the earth. As you push into the soles of the feet, gently pull the heels back, not so much that you cramp your hamstrings, pull the heels back towards the hips so the inner thighs move more towards the heels and you get a low back curve. tailbone lengthens into that. And on the inhale, you lift the hips a little bit. Maybe push into your elbows and reset, snuggle your shoulder blades underneath you more. Tack the head of the arm bones down. Press into the feet, pull the feet back enough to engage, not to cramp. Inner thighs move towards the floor as the tailbone lengthens. Push up a little more using the arms, the shoulders. Press the center back of the head into the earth. The chin comes slightly away from the sternum as the sternum presses towards the chin. And breathe here. If you want to slide a block under your hips for a restorative bridge, do that. If you want the more active bridge, hold here. Not so much that you're cramping, pinching the buttocks together. The glutes are working, but you're not pinching them together. You're engaging them and lengthening the tailbone, lengthen the low back. And on your next exhale, release. Draw your knees into your chest. Arms in a T position. One more twist. Just slowly drop the knees to the right. And we'll make this a moving twist. Lift your top knee, leg, roll it over until you roll over onto your back and roll to the left. Those of you who know seagrass, it's a version of that. Then lift the right knee, come back to the center where both knees are out, and then you drop to the other side. You're just back and forth, kind of slow, not using a lot of muscles. Just the top leg lifts and starts to wander away. And the other leg will come towards it, a little momentum. And the next time you come to center, pause. Draw the knees into the chest. If it feels good, if there's no strain on the neck, you can lift the nose towards, or keep the head on the floor, and then release. And do any movements you want to do before final relaxation. And you can do regular Shavasana, or if you want to do the supported fish pose this way for more openness. Kind of depends on what you think you're going to do the rest of your day. If you're going to be hunched over anything. Otherwise, lie flat. Take a few deep sighing, releasing breaths. Letting everything go. The bones are heavy, the skin and muscles soften and release. Swallow to soften the throat. Part your back teeth slightly. And part your lips slightly. Turn the light off in Jill's eyes here. Sorry, Jill, you could have asked me about that earlier. And you settle. And soften the jaw, soften the cheeks. Soften the eyes, all the muscles around the eyes. Allowing the eyeballs to just settle back into the cradle of the eye socket. Soften the space between the eyebrows, all the way into the center of the skull. The third eye center, your intuition, your knowing. Soften the forehead and the scalp. And follow the breath very sweetly, softly, in and out through the nose.
Begin to deepen your breath. And if those of you at home want a longer Shavasana, just stay. If you're moving, move gradually, gently, lovingly, stretching and moving, yawning, waking from the inside out. And gradually draw your knees into your chest and rest on your side. Taking these few precious moments of being fully present in this moment. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, to just be. And then knowing that we all have somewhere to go and something to do. Roll a little more towards the floor. Use the strength of your arms to press yourself up to a seated position and sit well. And draw your palms together in front of the heart center. When we realize that out of its freedom, the universe chose to create you, it just brings a new sense to of freedom to our lives. That now we have the freedom to move through being a full and perfectly imperfect expression of the universe. Namaste. Thank you, guys.